Peigín, thank you so much for coming in to talk to me today. It's absolutely lovely to meet you.
Cliona, an absolute pleasure. It's at last we're meeting in person.
I know all the kind of phone conversations and emails and whatever. It's lovely to see you here today. Just, I suppose before we start, I can't not mention your recent award as Emerging Company at the Cork Chamber event. Well done.
I know.
What a super achievement.
It's 2 weeks now and we're still coming down from the high. It's incredible to be recognised in your own back garden. Like, Cork is a beautiful place to do business. And when we were applying for this, and you think of all the companies that are born in Cork, it was just stunning. And it was a 5-star event. I mean, Micheál Martin, I got a photo and all with them, girl.
Well, I'm sorry I missed it this year because we were at it last year, but we couldn't go this year. But it is, what a showcase.
It was an amazing platform to be on, where people had never heard of the brand, who were suddenly, it's International Women's Day next week, and they were all ordering Grom and all gift boxes. So even commercially, it was worth the world. It was brilliant.
And I suppose there's no kind of avoiding you at the moment, because I opened the paper on Sunday and I saw there was a lovely feature in the Sunday Independent, and I was reading it and I said, I can identify with Peigín. I did arts like you, had a wild streak. The wild streak I've kind of tried to put to bed.
Yeah.
And it's funny, just some of the things that you mentioned. But talk to me a little bit about your story, and for anyone that's listening that maybe doesn't know Peigín and hasn't heard of Ground Wellbeing, just tell us about where it all started.
So I suppose going back to those days in arts and UCC, I'd have worked very hard in school, but I wasn't the most academic, let's say. So I scraped my way into arts. My dad is actually a retired professor.
I read that
as brilliant. He's as academic as they come. He would have been the editor in the Irish Famine, that large book that sits in my beautiful house without being opened and read. I think we only read the foreword where you're mentioned and thanked. So basically, he, at the time, obviously, college education was expensive. It was a perk to his job. By hook or by crook, we were all going to UCC. And I scraped into arts. Now, I had a wonderful time, met beautiful friends, played hockey, had a ball. Year I didn't really show up at all. The deal was, I've always wanted to do massage, and I'd always been someone who was fascinated with Reiki, anything to do with the body pulling itself back into balance.
And where did that passion come from?
I don't actually know. I worked in the chemist when I was very young, and I would have always bought rose water and cotton, and always been doing my skin, but even if someone was upset or tired, I'd brush their hair, I would touch them to mind them. Okay, and my mum, and so I would always have been that way inclined. So the deal was, if I got my arts degree, my dad would help me go to college in Dublin to do my holistic training and my beauty therapy training with Bronwyn Conroy. So off I went to Dublin. No sooner did I hit the ground up there than there was roles to apply for on the cruise ships, to do massage and beauty on the cruise ships. So sure enough, my kind of late teens, early 20s, I was cruising the world. I was visiting countries.
Amazing.
Well, do you know what? It was a full circle moment for my dad, because literally we would have done world cruising. We'd have been in Sydney for the Olympics. We'd have done the Caribbean. We'd have done the east and west coast of the States. We would have done South Pacific. We would have done Alaska. Amazing cruising. And the sad part was, I suppose, looking back, is my dad was a cultural professor, and he'd be messaging me saying, where are you going now? What are you doing? And I'm like, we're in the Amazon. And he's like, are you going to visit such and such? And I'm like, oh no, we found a Victoria's Secret, so we're blowing all our money in there. And it was kind of, I'd say it was wasted on me. But I remember coming home with gifts from my travels, and my dad, who's a cultural geographer, there was a tear in his eye where he said, with the work you do now, because he really didn't understand massage. He said to me, he just didn't get it. He's like, why do you want to rub naked strangers in the dark? I just don't get it. And I think when I returned, there was a moment where he's like, you're doing what you love, and fair play to you. So it took off from then. Spa was like a newborn baby in Ireland, and I would have worked with brands like Elemis, Estee Lauder. I then moved in when I was having my family. My daughters are 13 and 16. So about 16 years ago, I knew the travel had to kind of be reduced. So I started consulting. So I would have designed the spa at Adair Manor, designed everything from the customer journey, the footprint, with architects, with marketing, designing up menus, bringing in the Creme de la Mer brand, and really executing at a very high level in 5-star properties for the Merrion, the Cliff House, and moving into my hobby, which is developing products and essential oils and blending for them, and building and designing signature treatments for their spa. And really, that's where I was at. And by the time lockdown came, I was a very important person in my own head. I really was. I was living outside of myself in that I was delivering projects in India, in France, in Portugal, and I was escaping a lot of the hard work at home with my two small girls at the time. And I have a brilliant husband, Shane, who was carrying the can. And I remember those moments like deep in lockdown, and it was kind of April by the time we'd had St. Paddy's Day and we were all in our pajamas eating cheese and drinking wine and kind of thinking this was a bit exciting. And then there was the kind of more serious kind of how long is this going to go on for and how many people are dying, and it was really serious. So I remember in those moments I could see my diary and huge long haul trips were dropping out of my diary and there was nothing. And I signed on for the PUP. I was out of work. Every project was stalled. And I remember this lovely lightness kind of coming over me, this kind of relief that the time is now. And I was like, oh God, here it is. There's been a brand inside me. It's been like a baby in my belly. And I'm now going to go for it. I said, I knew, but I needed money. And Shane and I live in a small 3-bed in Ovens out by Ballincollig. And we've the 2 girls. So it's a gorgeous place to have grown up and brought up small children. But I'd bitch and moan about it all the time. I'd be like, listen, I need a big utility room. I need a mudroom. I need this. I need an ensuite. I need a million things. And Shane, probably 4 years before lockdown, I would have been bitching and he'd have said, listen, he's Dell. He works for Dell. He's a lifer. He's been there 26, 27 years. And he said, listen, if you leave me alone, when I get my bonus each year, I'm going to bank it. And we will sell this in 10 years and we'll have enough to build. And I was like, deal. And he said, but don't come at me for fancy curtains. Don't come at me for big holidays. Don't do it. And I was like, okay, deal. So I had kept my side of the deal. So by the time we were in April, May of lockdown,
and I remember that.
Yeah.
Because I think we were talking about this. It was a real moment of reflection.
Yeah.
A reflection, because I changed careers
so
as well.
Quiet. You could hear yourself.
Yeah.
The noise tuned out and you could hear the birds, but you could also meet yourself, which is not always easy, but you meet truths where, you get brave.
You had time to think about what I suppose you really wanted.
Yeah.
And I spoke to
and
you
a
about
value on your family and your health and your home.
And like that, I was travelling a lot with work as well. And it does take its toll. And I think it's fine at a certain point. And then you get to a stage where you kind of say, okay, can I continue doing this?
Yeah.
Is this really what I want?
Yeah.
But it's also a very kind of brave step to take, when you're kind of reevaluating but talk to me anyway about...
It is brave step. It is a brave step. And fortune favours the brave is what I'd answer you with that. Because when you are honest with yourself and you do make changes, sometimes we lock ourselves in golden cages where the paycheck and the mortgage and maybe a summer house and a car, that becomes the goal instead of the balance within the day. Yeah. Each day is so beautiful if you enjoy what you're doing. So, and don't get me wrong, work is work, a job is a job. There's no perfect
we all need
scenario.
money to survive.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you talk about, and you spoke about the baby in your belly now.
Yeah.
What a way
Well,
to
I'll
kind
make you laugh because I only call it that now because of the way Shane, when I broached him, I think there was 48 grand in the account. So by the time I sat him down, and I remember he was across the kitchen table, so pretend you're Shane. I actually looked at him like this and I was like, listen, I said, I know there's 48 grand in the account. I'm going to need every cent of it. I'm going to set up my brand. It's going to have to move into retail. The spas are closed. I'm going to approach Brown Thomas. It's not going to be a brand. I was pitching to him and I was like, it's not a brand about wrinkles or pigmentation or cellulite. This is not about how we look to the outside world. It's about how we feel on our inside world. And it's going to be this. And he said, stop. And I was like, what? And he said, take it. And I was like, don't just throw it at me now, Shane. I said, that's our family savings. And I said, make me do a business plan.
And I was just going to say, did you do a business plan? And did you have the brand name in mind at that stage?
I think I had let it come forward. And I remember him just saying, no, take it, Peigín. He said, it's like you're asking me for another child. And if I don't give it to you, there's plenty of people who give you money. They know what you do. You love what you do. You'll get pregnant by someone else. I'll have to look at this child for the rest of my life. Let's do it together. Let's put in our family savings and I'll back you. And to this day...
And how much did you need, like, approximately initially to kind of set a business like this up? I mean...
No, you see, you don't know. You don't know that. What you do is you do the best with what you do know. You take the 48 grand, like it was spent in 6 months.
Yeah.
And
which must have been so scary.
It's terrifying because of the cost. I know what it costs for raw materials and to make a product. And labour wasn't an issue because I was going to do it for free. You know what I mean? So you're kind of...
And talk to me about what the steps were there and like how the practicalities of setting this up.
Yeah.
So it went to the business plan first.
So we did it from home.
Yeah.
So we were doing it at the kitchen table. So the mother, who's a dote, and she'll hear this now, but like she's in our bubble. She's very close to us. She'd be very close to my daughters and my husband. And by the time we got to grips with how contagious this was and that she could be in our bubble, so she was in the kitchen with us. And I'll never forget that summer. She was head of bath salts in the corner. I had the daughters doing boxing and helping me arrange stuff. And they were on about $5 an hour until they realised that was illegal. And then they wanted double time on a Sunday. So it was a beautiful time where we were all building and doing the impossible from our home. And really, when you say, how did you build this? And I didn't know I didn't know. All I was doing is I had a PO from Brown Thomas. They had incredibly come behind this, backed it and said, right, we'll need to go live in November. The brand will need to have gifting and you will do podcasts with Louise Duffy. We'll line up all the marketing and whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is a dream come true, because well-being and sleep, the equity had gone up so much in all that. Menopause was being spoken about. So they knew they were on a winning ticket. I'd given them full exclusivity.
And did you approach Brown Thomas yourself?
I would know them. I would have worked with them.
Okay.
So when we launched in Adair Manor, we were working with Brown Thomas Limerick, Creme de la Mer. I would know them in Cork. Adrian DC is a stunning, beautiful person who helped me with the team in Brown Thomas Cork. No, I wasn't a stranger knocking on the door. I was established in my business. I'd have a reputation.
Which was
spa.
Advantageous, I suppose, in terms of being able to do one of those steps, which is kind of launching the product.
Well, to get a warm doorstep to present it and to show the ideation so far. And we didn't have a printed label or a printed box, but this is what it's going to look and feel like. This is our messaging. And for them to go, right, we'll give you a PO for 10 grand for November. So I knew I had 10 grand. So I also knew the bank against that purchase order would loan me. And also, you know, that 10 grand is locked down, but you won't be paid that for 30 or 60 days. So your and by the time we launched with 10 grand, I had an order for 20 grand because we'd sold out. It was doing so well online, and there was a million things went right at the beginning that were critical. Yeah. But to go back to the initial days of money that went out in the setup that I didn't expect was the insurance. For a cosmetic brand, I didn't fully understand the product registration across different markets, Europe, Ireland, the UK. And luckily enough, I always kind of, you know, for example, to trademark in certain jurisdictions, when you plug in other areas, it's cheaper. So you kind of have to go all in and believe this will travel.
And did you engage with the local enterprise office or anything like that to kind of help you
feasibility? They were excellent and they assigned me a mentor. So the local enterprise in Cork were fundamental to strategizing beyond the kitchen table. And a lot of that is down to gross margin. And I know it sounds really boring, but they gave me the most excellent mentor, Dennis Casey, who sat at my kitchen table and just said, okay, here's a bottle. How much does it cost to make, what size is your batch? 100. So like now we make in the thousands, which is lovely. But at the time at the kitchen table, you'd make 100 hand balms or you'd make 100 body oils. And how long did it take? How many hours did it take you? How many raw materials are used, your componentry, the cost of every single item, including the labour. And then you were able to take that and multiply it across multiple products and multiple markets at different prices and so on. So he actually locked me down into a gross margin, black and white data to know when I'm doing a deal with different jurisdictions, different retail versus spa versus online, to price how to price our trade price, not our end consumer price doesn't change, but how you change it in terms of trading and distribution models and so on. He was just a gift and he straightened me out because I did pass maths. So this for me was just give me the formula and let me input it and not disturb the formula, and I'll actually be able to create different scenarios with it.
And did you go online from the outset?
No, because it was exclusive to Brown Thomas.
Oh, it was exclusive to, for how long?
So we had a 6-month exclusive deal, which was perfect because the hotels were just opening about 6 months into 2021. So by the time we'd given exclusivity to Brown Thomas, we had made 80 grand wholesale worth of products from my kitchen table, which had sold for 160 grand, let's say. So we knew we were onto something, and I had friends, neighbours, beautiful people who would come in to my house and make products and we'd wear our masks. It was deep in COVID. We'd wear our masks. I'd have the fire on, and one of them was, I won't mention names now, lads, but one of them would come in and open all the windows for COVID and all this. And we've so many wonderful memories. The music would be blasting. We'd have Dr.
It sounds
Dre.
amazing.
Listen, we'd have hip hop tunes flying. We had a ball, and then it got too big, and it got to the stage where.
And what stage was this now? How far into, like, so?
6 months.
Okay, 6 months, yeah.
So we're in, before the spas were opening, and we'd been exclusive to Brown Thomas, and we knew we were onto something, and the spas were opening, and because I'm like the grandmother of spa in Ireland, I'm around so long before spa was anything, and my beautiful contacts in the Europe, you know, you name it, Mount Juliet, the Shelburne, the K Club, they're all phoning me saying, we want your brand, bring it in. As soon as the hotel is opened, we're launching with a good news stories, with sleep rituals, menopause rituals, you know.
But with that challenge, as good as it is, comes the production and
cash
distribute.
flow.
And
and this is where it got hilarious because, you know, my people who were coming into the house to help me make, we call them the OGs, the original gangsters. They would come in, and then we had to rent the house across the road. It was just too big. There was pallet trucks coming in. It was just getting, and then we hit the States at the same time. We kind of did too much at once possibly, but we went over to a 3-bed terraced house across the way, which was, oh God, if anything, it was a meth lab. Like, we were making the BAMs downstairs, we had packaging upstairs, we were doing gifting, and we were shipping then by the pallet, which was hilarious, from a little domestic, you know, little housing, a little park. And cash flow then was getting tight, and I knew we were at a stage where investment was needed, and that's where local enterprise were excellent, helping me find Regan Wall, who are, I mean, Kieran Regan is just incredible. He's our commercial solicitor, and he was helping us lock down on funding with Quintus, who, you know, when you look back, and I mentioned it at the Cork Awards, Kevin Canning met a middle-aged woman who pours oils in her kitchen and backed us to the tune of $500,000. I mean, that was incredible. Now, it helped that we were supplying the rosewood in Hong Kong and Hawaii and so on. We have a beautiful portfolio of accounts, but he was still backing a risk, you know.
Yes.
So we, on the back of that funding of $500,000, Enterprise Ireland entered the arena. So local enterprise is wonderful. It's like an incubation space. It's very supportive of the early days of a business. But once you're exporting, you move up and graduate to Enterprise Ireland. And it's a bit like going from kindergarten right into UCC. Mm-hmm. There's no middle ground. You're now playing with the big boys, and you're working with a scenario where they're helping you piggyback into Japan, into Singapore, so there is ferocious growing up needing to be done with the fund we received in terms of compliance across new markets. We said yes to the Middle East before we knew what we were doing. We had this wonderful opportunity 2 years ago where they said the Jumeirah Group were interested, and they said we're very interested in Ground. We're reconfiguring our spas. I mean, Dubai as a place I'd never been to, but I knew it was gilded in gold and exclusive to exclude almost. Yeah. So suddenly they were saying, no, we want to do an inclusive menu. We want to do oncology, cancer care treatments. We want to do treatments for children with anxiety, children with neurodiversity, a full menu. And our full menu, to be inclusive, means you have to use the correct language. You have to sign up for it. You can't just wash this with inclusivity, just like greenwashing. So we train therapists. We work on the body, whether you're male or female, whether you're transitioning from male to male. We will give you the language and the understanding of a body that's taking hormones, that's had reconstructive surgery. We lift the lid on everything so that we can meet each human, no matter what age they are, no matter how diverse their brain is, no matter what their sexuality is, that we can meet them and mind them and help them come back to balance within their body, because the body's complicated. But when you have the language, do a good consultation before you mind someone, you really learn how to make them feel safe. And in the end, when we are minding ourselves at home, through our food, through our walks, whatever, your body just wants to feel safe in itself. And
self-care is such a huge part of life.
Yeah.
And I think you learn it as you get older.
How important
it is. Because look, through your 20s and 30s, the wild nights, you abuse your body probably.
Yeah. You test it.
And then
it's all about boundaries, isn't
it? You push the boundaries. And I suppose that comes with the age. And then, I don't know, is it kind of like as you start to get a bit older, you start to kind of reflect and say, okay, what do I need to make me feel better?
Yeah.
and, massage.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel, oh my God, are we kind of overindulging ourselves? And actually, I was away last week and I thought, do you know what? No, I tore my calf playing tennis. And I said, I'm going to go for a massage. And actually, at the end of that night, no joke, 8:30, I was sound asleep. And I thought, I feel like I've been drugged.
Recovery, your body was moving into recovery mode, yeah.
And I think it's so important that we actually allow ourselves to actually, care
Be
for
minded,
ourselves
yeah.
and know, okay, what is it that makes me feel better? Massage is one of those things that I love. I
But
really...
learning to do it for your children, even your adolescent children, and I know that you're not going to do a full body massage on anyone, but you'd be surprised how scalp and hand and foot, and just how when someone's sitting on the couch with you watching a movie, minding them through clothing, how our dogs and cats and
Touch.
I know it sounds strange, skin on skin, be it with your partner or your dog or cat in the bed, sharing, co-regulating space with people you love or animals you love, diffuses your body of hormone. It reduces the stress hormone in your body. And the company we keep, editing back to just people who make you feel good and not putting up with bullshit or people who drain the life out of you. You got to protect yourself. We talk about eating the right food, but what we digest on TV, in books, in podcasts is just as important as the people, because those who shout loudest get served. And I've reached a point in my life that just because someone invites me to a party and just because someone wants to hang out or have a cup of tea or chat, I can be flattered and turn up only to leave and go, that's actually not for me.
Yeah.
And the people who are for me, who feed my soul, are beautiful people who don't demand of me, and I don't get to see enough of them. And then when I'm with them, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I need more of this and less of the bullshit.
Yeah.
So I think tuning into that radio station while lockdown, when the quiet came and we met ourselves, and I'd do anything if we could just have 2 months a year of lockdown, it'd be stunning. But just to come back and reconnect with the self and know what's good for the self. So,
and what about no? I'm thinking, you spoke earlier about Jumeirah, and I think that was only one of like the Kempinski, and
I know
there's so many.
Actually, the point I wanted to tell you about the Jumeirah in the Middle East is, again, flattered by being asked. Ego answered the question. Of course, we'll work with you. We'll make this happen. Only to find out that to enter the Middle East as a market costs you at every juncture unlike no other.
Really?
So, for example, trademarking Ground in the US was $2,500. Canada was £800. Europe was £1,200. The UK, and then the Middle East is like $5,000 a pop for Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, United Arab Emirates. They're all, I think it was $30,000 trademark in the jurisdiction, which I hadn't allowed for.
Oh my God.
But you have to be trademarked before you can enter into the agreement with them. So,
and in how many countries are you trading now?
We are at, I think we're at 24 now.
That's amazing.
20 to 24. I think we're rolling out into Italy, Capri next month, Mallorca.
And are you getting to travel to all these lovely places?
I am.
And how do you manage it with kind of family life?
Oh, girls, some of the trips, it's like, I'm just going to make this happen. And like Shane Crowley's a dote. We've been to the most amazing places already. Hawaii, St. Barth, Vegas, which I never needed to go to in my life, which I now get is hilarious. But we've been to amazing places. But the only place Shane said, I'll come to Japan. I'm waiting for Japan, and Japan's happening this summer, Tokyo.
Fantastic.
So the Bulgari now and Park Hyatt are lining up. No, it's I don't keep saying yes now. I pick and choose, and I'm more careful with my energy.
And do you do much kind of in terms of virtual kind of consultations?
Virtual.
Okay.
We do a lot virtual, but our training, our advanced massage training, has to be done in person. So we're very much traveling all over. Like right now, we've some of the teams in Dubai. Singapore, Rachel will leave for Singapore on Friday for our first Southeast Asia account. Maldives was before Christmas. No, when I look back on it, like even having conversations like that, it's really important for me to sit and go, oh, God, that feels good to say Singapore. Amazing. It feels good to say the Maldives. So yeah, we have.
It's incredible, like what you've achieved, and I suppose you refer to it all the time. Your team. The team behind you. How many are on the team?
So we're 14 now, 8 full-time, 6 part-time. My OGs are still at the crux, at the very centre of production, making products. I think people don't understand that we are a brand that we poured and blended and recipeed up from the kitchen table and continue to pour by hand and make ourselves. So this isn't a recipe that was found in Korea, that was replicated in China and sold in Ireland under an Irish name.
Yeah.
This is the real deal. And I think
Amazing.
when investors come in and they see that, the knowledge in formulating is there. But what happened to us as a brand is we were well-being, we were body focused, and we were training therapists to such an excellent standard that when we would go into spas like Mount Juliet, Glasson Lake House, they would say, we have other brands here, but the team love doing Ground. Can you develop facials for us so that we can just be Ground only? And the team all just move through one brand, are fully loyal to one brand. And that was about 2.5 years ago. And it was in that moment that I said, okay, so we need to do skincare. We need to formulate, and I can't work with water. It's really easy to make oil-based products. Bath salts, balms, oils, they are stabilised really easily with vitamin E and preserved naturally with vitamin E. So they are 100% natural products with plant-based ingredients. And essentially, if you left a block of butter and a pint of milk and went on holidays for 2 weeks, your block of butter, you might need to shave a little bit off the top, but it'll be
a
fine.
bit yellow, a bit golden.
The milk's gone rancid, like the milk is off. So when you work with water, you need a stronger preservative system, which includes chemicals.
Okay.
So suddenly you're moving into a sphere of creating skincare, which is serum, cream, gel-based, toner. They're all water-based products. So I knew I had to bring in a formulator who would still move through the lens of being as natural as possible. So we can boast toner, cleansing gel and moisturizer that are 99% natural. There's a 1% preservative system which will give you shelf life for the product, which you need for water. So that was a journey, and that was a huge investment to the tune of about 200,000. And what we've created are just incredible bacteria-based, microbiome-based skincare, because we've such a strong belief and understanding of our gut brain and of the membrane that has good bacteria in it. Like, there is incredible intelligence in our gut, just like our own brain in our head, but it depends on the balance of bacteria, good and bad. And the skin is the same. So when you think about the sheet of clothing that covers us from tip to toe and essentially protects us from it's a waterproof membrane. Our skin is protecting us from our external environment. It is essentially an immune barrier from disease and disorder. And it is based on a balance of bacteria. So when we feed, just like when we feed you were mentioning probiotics before we jumped on. So everything from prebiotics, which is what feeds the bacteria, to probiotics, actual live bacteria in our gut, to postbiotics, which is the leftovers. All of that is done in our gut so beautifully. And we have to approach our skin as the same thing. In fact, we have to approach any membrane in our body which has contact with the outside world. So our digestive system has contact with the foods we eat, and we bring in external, potentially poisonous alcohol, you name it, we bring it into our system, medications, and our system has to break down what will not kill us. And that's where you have leaky gut, people who have digestive disorders. It's a fascinating space because of how much it connects with depression and our well-being. So we are learning all that, but you also must think of your skin as being a membrane that connects with the outside world, as well as our genitals. Anything that has contact with the outside world has a microbiome, has a natural bacteria in it that we must protect at all times. So, geez, I've forgotten the question. I've gone way
You're
off.
okay. Do you know what I wanted to ask you was, there's so much to talk about, and you've achieved so much so you started in...
So
how many years in are we now?
We turned 4 at Christmas.
4. And what's the plan for
I suppose
Ground going forward?
No, and what I want to tell you,
like a
before I
strategy
even tell you the plan, because this is Alpha Wealth, from a financials, I know from a financial services company, your listeners will be interested in the numbers, and I'm always free to share those. I love to share them because you have to be honest about it. We put 50 grand in, we were up and running, and then we took another 800 grand. So just to give you context with income that was coming in. So year 1, kitchen table, first 6 months, we turned 80 grand over direct with Brown Thomas retail business. We then opened up in spas, and by the time we closed on our first 12 months, we did 250,000. And I think we ran at a loss of 7 grand. We then went into year 2, where we were starting to move into new territories like the US and so on. We turned over 500,000,
Wow.
and this time we did a profit of 50 grand. So I said, I know there's something in this, but we need to scale up, move into the bigger workshop on the Model Farm Road. So there's costs in that. So we took investment the following year. To the 2023 took in 800 grand in investment, and we turned over, I think, 700 grand, because a lot of my time now moved out of sales and into structure and building the team and producing product with compliant labels for new markets. And by the time we went into 2024, we were moving into the Middle East, which is a very demanding space to become compliant in, possibly the most stringent, because Dubai has a lot of counterfeit coming in from China. So having absolute compliance there took half a year. So again, we weren't in full sales mode in 2024. We turned over 1 million. So you can almost see they're kind of nice round numbers, 250,000 to 500,000. So we doubled down in those 2 years when we were in sales mode. We then slowed down for different jurisdictions, 700 grand, and then we did the 1 million last year. We woke up this year, and for the first time now in 2 years, I'm in full throttle. So we are selling, we are opening, we are just doubling down on all the foundation stones we've laid. So this year we will turn over anything between 1.7 and 2 million is what's keyed up for us this year. And we will continue to double down, because simply when we enter these markets, the demand is there. We've grown organically. If I was to tell you, we've never turned up at a trade show in our spa arena. We tested one in Cosmoprof with Enterprise Ireland for cosmetics, but it was too pharmacy, it was too retail. It's not us.
And what about influencer marketing? Have you tried it?
Interesting. We don't invest in influencer marketing, but we have incredible friends in that arena who support us genuinely and organically. It's a really tricky market. We've never spent on an influencer. So for suddenly those ones who support us organically, if they were suddenly to see me back one and say paid advertising, I would lose all of their support. So it's a loyalty thing. It's also a brand that when you use it, people buy it again and again. We have this wonderful...
And tell people where it's available for anyone that would like to try it out and buy it.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm here to sell. But we are in Brown Thomas. We are in, around Ireland, we're in the K Club, Mount Juliet, the Shelburne, Eden 1. We're moving over to the west soon enough, please God.
Online? I know you can buy it online.
Oh my God, thank you. Online. Our website, where we have the greatest margin, is online. I'm trying to think. Cork. Yeah, again, Hayfield Manor. I can't leave anyone out either now that I've started.
I just think online shopping is just fantastic.
It
I've
is.
been on the website and, I'm going to get a little bit of advice from you afterwards as to kind of what to purchase.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to kind of know, what the products that I suppose suit the particular type of skin type and everything like that. I suppose to kind of maybe wrap it up a little bit, I suppose for anyone that has a dream, you had a dream.
Yeah.
I don't know, was it something that you kind of set out to kind of start, was this dream always there, Peigín? And how, or what advice, I suppose, would you give to anybody that has this little itch that they want to scratch? I was talking to you earlier about Simon Squibb, this book, What's Your Dream? I saw it in the paper last week and I bought it, and he talks a lot about, you should go after your passion. Now, I know it's not as easy as they kind of say to go after your passion and, we all need to bring money and whatever, but what advice would you give to somebody that is thinking about it?
I think there's a moment where you got to weigh up how comfortable you are and how uncomfortable you're prepared to get. This was deeply uncomfortable. It is hard. Being an entrepreneur, setting up a business, you know what? You kind of have to be half mad to a point where it is a kind of psychosis where you believe in yourself beyond doubt, because to do something like this and to put your family savings behind it, it's a risk. And you have to be all in on plan A. You have to know there's a gap, whether it's just a local gap, whether it's a product gap, whether it's a service gap. You got to know it's there, because you know the people who will want to buy it. And you almost need to lock them down before you put money into it. You almost need to do your feasibility in advance. When you are all in on plan A, the universe will help you. The universe conspires around you. Energy comes in from all types of strangers and people ahead of you in business who will mentor you. You're as good as the questions you ask of the business, and knowing in advance that you don't know it all and you need help. That's really important. You do need family support. I'm completely blessed and fortunate to be in the family I'm in because I take all the oxygen. I'm someone who's traveling, coming in, landing in. I'm missing my daughter's cup match on Wednesday because I'm in Liverpool. I'm
sure you make
me.
up for it in spades.
I do. I make up. I'm very conscious that while I'm a capable person in business and I could give it all to my business, my capacity now has to serve my family. They're at a lovely age. They're teenagers.
Well, it sounds lovely. A massage on the couch sounds absolutely...
Well, no, they wouldn't. They'll be laughing when they
After
hear
her
that.
cup match, I'm sure you'll be able to...
I tell you, it's reverse engineered now. My 12-year-old now rubs my eyes for 5 minutes and charges me a £5. But touch is integral. Touch is wonderful. And the most beautiful things we do in terms of touch is teaching parents storytelling massage, especially for children with additional needs. We do actually in the Kingsley on the 9th of March, we're doing a session. It's called the Soothing Session and it's children aged 3 to 8 with their parents. So we're limited numbers wise. Parent and child can get a ticket that's sold out now, but they come, we have a space with different sensory experiences from bean bags to playing with rice to dough, and you can use beautiful scents for the dough, for forest, the awakening in the morning for children, the routine of the morning to get the scent into their system, the sleep and calm for nighttime. And we show parents how to storytell massage on the back of the body where you put the balm down and you're talking about the jungle. So you're kind of massaging the back and you're talking about the palm leaves and the rain and the elephant's trunk coming down the neck. And what the parent thinks they're doing to soothe their child, they've no idea how much it soothes them by touching, by co-regulating. Touch is an incredible force. When you get a hug at the right moment when you're struggling, your body feels safe. Mm-hmm. When you can make a small child feel safe, and when the child feels safe to your touch, you feel safe. Mm-hmm. So it does far more for the parents, which I know as you know, people who are minding small children alone, never mind a small child with additional needs, being able to soothe each other is so important.
It's like you kind of preempted just my last question, which I was saying to you earlier. I came from a talk this morning, which was all around growth through innovation. And it sounds like what an innovative way to, engage with people and product and,
to teach. No, and
it's so important, and I think
it is. It's a gift, and tomorrow morning, just up the road from here, Cork Arc for cancer care, Look Good, Feel Better are this amazing charity in Ireland that help people going through cancer come back to themselves and mind themselves, and everything from getting their eyebrows tattooed when they lose their hair to whatever. So we work with them, and tomorrow we're doing a session on well-being and breath work and skincare during cancer, because I don't think people realise how, chemotherapy, when people are in treatment, it's almost an assault on the body. These treatments are being brought in to kill a tumour, to do something, and it has a huge effect on the overall well-being of someone. And while the surgeon and your doctor and that team is working to kill the cancer, there's a human in the middle of it who needs to be kept alive and felt good. So we have that tomorrow morning. So we while globally we're kind of turning up in places I can't afford to buy dinner for you in, like they're that exclusive. On the ground here in Cork, we work beautifully locally, and there's such amazing initiatives. So
you're doing a super job. I mean, just listening to you today, I can hear just the emotion in terms of the person. Yeah. You're always thinking about the person that's receiving, obviously, the product.
No, and we love it.
And I think that's what really brings the passion.
Yeah.
I felt it today. It's been so enjoyable talking to you.
Cliona,
and thank you so much for coming in to tell us your story.
Your team are fab.
The team are super. I think it's really what makes a business
but you're a joy. You're a joy to work with in every way. You have a lovely persona.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your time, Peigín. Been lovely chatting to you.
Delighted.